Dear friends and sisters, I talk to you is Manakchan Sangi, Bangalore, Karnataka state. I am talking to you regarding my sixth letter. In my previous letter, I have informed you that Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was a founding father of modern India, establishing so many public sector undertakings and enterprises. Today, we talk his contribution to free India in detail. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru unfurled Indian national flag tricolor on historical site of Red Fort, Delhi, in the early hours of morning on 15th August 1947. He was the first Prime Minister of Free India. During his tenure as a Prime Minister, India made a very good progress and implemented so many social and economic reforms. He was very helpful to the poor and loved justice and truth. Know that once upon a time, our first late President Dr. Rajendra Prasad acknowledged Panditji's services to the nation and said that the country is marching forward on the road of progress in the leadership of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. He is one of the foreign policy landmarks, is a foundation of the non-aligned movement. NAM. His assassination was plagued by controversy and a bitter power struggle within the Congress party. The initial period of Sri Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru as a Prime Minister was marred by communal violence. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was forced to concede the creation of Pakistan as per wishes of the Muslim League leader Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Communal violence erupted in the entire country during this period. Maximum bloodshed witnessed in the national capital Delhi. Punjab and West Bengal, the Indian states, also witnessed fierce bloodshed. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru tried to diffuse the explosive situation by visiting the violence-hit areas. He toured the riot-stricken areas with Pakistani leaders to reassure the people at large affected by the violence hysteria. The post-independence Indian history reminds that momentous period when Panditji promoted peace in Punjab. We cannot forget the secular nature of Sri Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, which was best exemplified during those times. He had taken active steps to safeguard the status of Indian Muslims. The Nehruvian economic policies were far-reaching and its effects are felt today too. He was known by his enduring brand of Nehruvian socialism, that is, Indian version of socialism. The Planning Commission of India is Jawaharlal Nehru's brainchild, a special economic reform policy vehicle. The Commission is responsible for formulating the 5-year plans of the Indian economy. Planning Commission also conducts a lot of other economic functions. The first 5-year plan was presented by Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru on the 8th of December 1951. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru concentrated his economic policy on the rural sector. A lion's share of the first 5-year plan went to irrigation and energy production, which was more than 20% of the total funding of Indian rural economy allotted. The agriculture sector got more than 17% of the budget allocation, but 4% of the fund money went to land rehabilitation. The first 5-year plan also provided the seed money for setting up the 5 Indian Institutes of Technologies, IITs. University Grant Commission or UGC was also set up during this period. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru's tenure plans of land redistribution were undertaken. This ensured a much socially just Indian society. This move also helped the Indian economy at many ways. The wealth disparities between sections of the population reduced. Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was one of the first Indian economy policy maker who understood the importance of cotton industries in the development of rural economy. The development of small sector industries infused much needed production efficiency into rural Indian economy. This has helped the agricultural workers to a better quality of life. This is due to additional profits generated by the farming community. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru undertook various educational and social reforms. He was keenly instrumental in starting new Indian Institutes of Higher Learning, that is, Indian Institutes of Technology, the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, AIMMs, and various branches of the Indian Institute of Management, etc. Primary education was made compulsory. Free adult education units were established. Jawaharlal Nehru was responsible for setting up the direction of India's foreign policy. This policy persists till now. The world was sharply divided into two opposite factions. One side was the West, comprising of the United States and Western European countries. Another side was the East, dominated by the erstwhile USSR. India wisely joined neither faction during that period. The efforts of Jawaharlal Nehru made the Republic of India as one of the founding members of the non-aligned movement NAM. Diplomatic skills of Jawaharlal Nehru came into light during his dealings with Pakistani leadership. He successfully dealt with Pakistan on the Kashmir issue. The first India's Prime Minister cemented India's administrative hold on the northern Indian state. He ordered to arrest the influential politician Sheikh Abdullah on suspicion of anti-national activities. This led to a smoother administrative transition from the former Kashmiri ruler to civilian Indian rule. He was feted around the world for his efforts to ease global political tensions. India criticized the invasion of the Suez Canal by combined military force comprising French, British and Israeli troops. Jawaharlal Nehru formally signed the Indus Water Treaty with Pakistan in 1960. This was done to mitigate the long-standing dispute between India and Pakistan in sharing the water resources of the major rivers in the shared geographical region of Punjab. I remember that China had betrayed India in the 96 when Chinese premier visited India and vowed for India-Chinese friendship by saying Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai, but dashed India's hopes of peaceful living with China. The Chinese invasion on India's northeastern territorial region dashed Jawaharlal Nehru's hopes of the peaceful Southeast Asia. I highlight the Sino-Indian War for my listeners that occurred in 1962 between China and India over a disputed Himalayan border, which had brought a severe setback to the health of Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. There were also other issues which contributed to the escalation of the war. There were a series of violent border incidents after the 1959 Tibetan uprising, when India had granted asylum to the Dalai Lama. Secondly, India initiated a forward policy in which it placed outposts along the border, including several north of the McMahon Line, the eastern portion of a line of actual control. Chinese Premier Zhou Enlai proclaimed in 1959. India and China did not accommodate politically over a disputed territory along the 3,225 kilometer long Himalayan border. So China launched simultaneous offensives in Ladakh and across the McMahon Line on October 20th, 1962. Chinese troops advanced over Indian forces in both theaters, capturing Rijangla in Chesul in the Western Theatre as well as Tawangla in the Eastern Theatre. This war ended when the Chinese declared a ceasefire on 20th November 1962 and announced its withdrawal from the disputed area. The Indo-Chinese War was notable for the high mountain conditions under which fighting took place, entailing large-scale combat at altitudes of over 4,000 meters, that is 14,000 feet. This war was also noted for non-deployment of the Navy or Air Force by either the Chinese or Indian side. Please see that China and India shared a long border sectioned into three stretches by Nepal, Sikkim and Bhutan, which follows the Himalayan between Burma and what was the then Western Pakistan. A number of disputed regions lie along this border. At its western end is the Aksai Chin region that sits between the Chinese autonomous region of Xinjiang and Tibet. The eastern border between Burma and Bhutan comprises the present Indian state of Arunachal Pradesh. Both these regions were overrun by China in 1962 conflict. Most combat took place at high altitudes. Aksai Chin region is a desert of salt flakes around 5,000 meters above sea level, and Arunachal Pradesh is mountainous with a number of peaks exceeding 7,000 meters. The Chinese army had possession of one of the highest ridges in the region. The high altitudes and freezing conditions also cause logistic and welfare difficulties. The casualties is caused due to harsh conditions than enemy action. Hence, this Indo-Chinese war is no exception because more casualties were caused due to freezing cold prevailed there. The cause of the war was a dispute over the sovereignty of the widely separated Aksai Chin and Arunachal Pradesh border regions. Aksai Chin, claimed by India, once belonged to be part of Kashmir, and China claimed as a part of Xinjiang. China laid a road link that connects the Chinese regions of Tibet and Xinjiang. Construction of this road was one of the biggest triggers of the conflict. The Aksai Chin road link was easily accessible to the Chinese, but for India it was very difficult. Simultaneously, China published the Chinese maps in 1958 claiming its claim over the regions by this road link. It was also seen India and China had shown counterclaims over the disputed territories by publishing maps as per their claims, etc. Due to non-recognition of McMahon Line by the China, it had awakened India's stand. Simultaneously, China showed both the northeast frontier area Nepal and Aksai Chin as Chinese territory. Zhou Enlai unofficially suggested India that India should drop its claim to Aksai Chin in return for a Chinese withdrawal of claims over Nepal. Adhering to his stated position, Jawaharlal Nehru believed that China did not have a legitimate claim over either of these territories, and thus Jawaharlal Nehru was not ready to concede them. This adamant stance was perceived by China as Indian opposition to Chinese rule in Tibet. Jawaharlal Nehru declined to conduct any negotiations with China on the boundary until Chinese troops withdraw from Aksai Chin. China believed that India was simply securing its claim lines in order to continue its grand plans in Tibet. This had resulted in the deterioration of diplomatic relations between the two countries. Jawaharlal Nehru took the tricky situation easily about Sino-Indian border issue. India started sending Indian troops and border patrols into disputed areas. This program created both skirmishes and deteriorating relations between India and China. The aim of this policy was to create outposts behind advancing Chinese troops to interdict their supplies, forcing them north of the disputed area. There were 60 such outposts, including 43 north of McMahon Line, to which India had claimed sovereignty. This was viewed by China as further confirmation of Indian expansionist plans towards Tibet, and India intended that Indian occupation is the confirmation of being of Indian presence in the region. Hence, suspicion risen into the minds of the Chinese. Due to this, Chinese forces began to counter and circle the Indian positions, which clearly encroached into the north of McMahon Line. This is a tit for tat of Indian reaction, with each force attempted to outmaneuver the other. However, despite the escalating nature of this dispute, the two forces withheld from engaging each other directly. Somebody told me that Chinese troops encircled the Indian outposts from all sides. Indian outposts were guarded by 5 to 10 soldiers having a bunker for keeping ammunition, guns and other weapons for compact. Number of Indian soldiers at the outpost were very less in comparison to Chinese soldiers. They came in 150 to 200 numbers encircling the Indian outposts from all sides. Hence, Indian soldiers' escape route was impossible and very difficult. Even Indian soldiers were having modern machine guns as against Chinese soldiers. Indian soldiers were unable to fight and fire from all sides in adverse cold conditions. Since Chinese soldiers were with presence of huge numbers easily captured the Indian soldiers' outposts. Due to this reason, Chinese were able to easily seize the Indian outposts. Another reason is that Chinese were not bothered for suffering of heavy casualties. Their aim was to capture the land from Indians. Please note that due to this reason, Indians had to face defeat in the war. Once Chinese soldiers captured the outposts, they will laugh with choral voice like chi 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 chi. In all, Chinese military action has been viewed by USA and China policy of making use of aggressive wars to settle the border disputes with its neighbor and to distract from their internal issues. Western nations at that time viewed China as an aggressor during China-India border war and considered the war was part of a monolithic communist objective for a world dictatorship of the proletariat. Somehow, I am feeling that Chinese did not continue the war further because of world pressure built up against them and due to logistical problems and the cutoff of resource supplies. It was found that by way of this war, China maintained its claim for Aksai Chin. In this context, I remember a song that I will not forget in my lifetime at any time. Once upon a time, when our northeastern border frontiers became peaceful after China's war, then our soldiers organized a program in New Delhi in the memory of those martyrs who had sacrificed their lives for our country. In that program, Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru was also invited. Then Lataji had sung a song in the memory of those martyrs, which will be always remembered. After listening that song, Panditji got so influenced that broke out the tears from his eyes. Song was like this. ऐ मेरे वतन के लोगों, तुम खूब लगा दो नारा, ये शुभ दिन है हम सबका, लहराए तिरंगा प्यारा, पर मत भूलो सीमा पर वीरों ने प्राण गवाए, कुछ याद उन्हें भी कर लो, कुछ याद उन्हें भी कर लो, जो लौट के घर न आए, जो लौट के घर न आए। ऐ मेरे वतन के लोगों, जरा आँख में भर लो पानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी, जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। ऐ मेरे वतन के लोगों, जरा खूब लगा दो जब जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी, जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जब घायल हुआ हिमालय, खतरे में पड़ी आजादी, जब तक थी शान लगे वो, फिर अपनी लाश बिछा दी, संगीन पे धर कर माथा, सो गए हमी अमर जब बलिदानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी, जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जब देश में थी दिवाली, वो खेल रहे थे होली, जब हम बैठे थे घरों में, वो झेल रहे थे होली। धन्य है जवान वो अपनी दी, धन्य है वो उनकी जवानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी, जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। कोई सिख कोई जाट मराठा, कोई सिख कोई जाट मराठा, कोई गुरखा कोई मदरासी, कोई गुरखा कोई मदरासी, सरहद पे मरने वाला, सरहद पे मरने वाला, हर वीर था भारतवासी, जो खून गिरा पर्वत पर, वो खून था हिंदुस्तानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी, जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। थी खून से लथपथ काया, फिर भी बंदूक उठा के, 10-10 को एक ने मारा, फिर गिर गए होश गवा के। जब अंत समय आया तो, जब अंत समय आया तो, कह गए कि अब मरते हैं, खुश रहना देश के प्यारो, खुश रहना देश के प्यारो, अब हम तो सफर करते हैं, अब हम तो सफर करते हैं। क्या लोग वे के वो दीवाने, क्या लोग वे अभिमानी, जो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। तुम भूल न जाओ उनको, इसीलिए कही ये कहानी, सो शहीद हुए हैं उनकी जरा याद करो कुर्बानी। जय हिंद, जय हिंद की सीम सेना, जय हिंद, जय हिंद की सेना। This song has feelings from which we get influenced. We must do something good for our country before we leave this world. Again he is granting refuge to the Tibetan Buddhist leader Dalai Lama, led to a severe criticism. Chinese aggression was a severe setback to the health of Nehruji. This forced him to rethink India's security requirements and act accordingly. Jawaharlal Nehru could not recover from the setback suffered. He passed away on the 27th of May 1964. His last days were marred by the political problems such as Congress party was charged involving in corruption charges and India's invasion of Portugal in 1961. At last, I will say that he was a marvelous, genuine, undisputed political leader of millions of Indians. Loved him by heart and brain. Dear countrymen, I understand that life is no such way easy, which passes by day and night. You have to deliver something during this period. Then also you can retain your identity in this world of humans. Hence, you must try to do something in your life and leave the result of the work done by you on the God. I assure you that God will definitely do the justice and the magic. Nowadays, we are a bit concerned that some anti-social elements and criminals have entered into the political arena, which has vitiated the political atmosphere of this country. The corruption has become day-to-day talk. We cannot differentiate between good and bad political leader. So many scams have surfaced. We do not know that how many scams will surface in the future. This has weakened our political system. I feel that there is a way to come out of this. The country must have such a major political party which must build up a base at local level, and its leadership should be from village-wise, town-wise, district-wise, city-wise, and vice versa, etc. Its spread must be up to state level, and the state leaders should hold on all political spectrum. Likewise, this major political party must build up the base in same fashions in all the states of this country. I am definite of the view that this hard task exercise will give positive results to win the elections at all India level with comfortable majority. Secondly, this political party must take steps not to give allot tickets to those who have a criminal record at any level. Such a step will give a moral boost to the party workers and the leaders of the party, who works hard to win the hearts of the voters. This will also clean the image of the political party. I foresee the emergence of such godlike political leader who will lead this country with clean image and will take India to great heights of progress and development. Jai Hind. I request you to spell the following godly words. Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru Ji, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru Ji, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru Ji, Vaheguru, Vaheguru, Vaheguru Ji. Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya, Om Namo Shivaya. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Om Sri Venkateshwaraya Namaha. Om Sri Venkateshwaraya Namo. Om Sri Venkateshwaraya Namo. Om Sri Venkateshwaraya Namo.